The twin suns of Zadra burned above the dusty streets, filling the market with heat and light. 3 young alien boys ran through the crowd, each carrying heavy bags for rich travelers. Their small feet kicked up red dust as they laughed and shouted to each other. Kyle, the oldest, was tall for his age and always serious. Rin, the middle one, was quick and clever with bright yellow eyes. Tiro, the youngest, followed behind, struggling with a bag that was almost bigger than him. They worked every day in the city's main port, helping visitors who came from faraway worlds. Most were loud and proud aliens from rich colonies covered in jewelry and colorful skin patterns. None ever looked at the boys as more than workers. But the brothers didn't complain. They had to earn enough to buy food for their mother, Vera, and to pay rent for their tiny home in the lower district. That morning, something strange happened. A new ship landed in the docking field, sleek, silver, and quiet. It didn't look like any alien design. Its metal was smooth, shining like water under the sun. The air shimmered around it, as if it carried its own invisible heat. Everyone in the port stopped to look. Even the guards looked nervous. The door opened with a low hum and a tall figure stepped out. He was not like anyone they had ever seen. His skin was pale, almost colorless under the light. His eyes glowed faintly blue. His hair was short and dark. He wore a simple black coat and boots, but there was something heavy about him. Something powerful, quiet, and calm. Some whispered he might be a ghost from the old wars. Others said he was a lost traveler from another system. Kyle felt something strange in his chest when he saw the man. It wasn't fear, it was curiosity. The man looked around the port slowly, his eyes calm but sharp. When he saw the 3 brothers, he smiled slightly and waved them over. "Help me with my bags," he said in a deep, calm voice. The boys ran to him. The bags were light, but the metal felt different, warm and almost alive. As Tiro touched one of them, a small spark ran through his fingers. He gasped, but the man only smiled. "Careful," he said softly. "They remember who carries them." Kyle didn't understand what that meant, but he nodded and led the way. The man followed quietly, looking around as if studying everything, the ships, the guards, the people. When they reached the market, he stopped and handed Kyle a small metal coin. It was shiny and strange, marked with symbols no one in Zadra used. Then he took something from his coat, a small cube that glowed faintly blue, and placed it in Kyle's hand. "Keep this," he said. "You'll know what it means soon." Before they could ask anything, he walked away and disappeared into the crowd. The boys stood there confused. The cube was small, no larger than an apple, and it pulsed like a tiny heart. It made a soft humming sound. Rin wanted to sell it, saying they could earn more than a week's food with it. But Kyle shook his head. "No." He said it means something. "We should show it to Mom first." When they reached home, their mother was cooking over a small stove. She was tired, her eyes dark from sleepless nights. "Where have you been?" she scolded. "You're late again." Kyle showed her the cube and explained about the strange man. Vera frowned and took it carefully. The moment her fingers touched it, the light brightened. The room filled with a faint hum. Suddenly, images flashed before her eyes, stars, giant ships, planets burning, and a symbol she remembered from history lessons long ago, the mark of humanity. She dropped the cube in shock. "Where did you get this?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Tiro pointed at the door. "From the man at the port. He said to keep it." Vera's heart pounded. Humans were myths, stories from before the Great War. Every alien knew that Deathworlders, the humans, were wiped out centuries ago. Their worlds were poison, their soldiers too fierce. But no one had seen them in generations. She wrapped the cube in a cloth and hid it under the floor. "You must never tell anyone about this," she said firmly. "Do you understand?" "No one." The boys nodded, scared now by her serious tone. That night, while everyone slept, Vyra sat awake, staring at the faint glow leaking through the cracks in the floorboards. The cube still pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Outside, far above the clouds, a dark shadow moved in orbit. It was not a moon. It was a ship, silent, watching, waiting, and deep inside, the same blue light pulsed again. The human had not come to Zadra by accident. He had come because of the cube, and because of the family who now held it. Night fell slowly over the city of Zadra. The twin suns sank below the red hills, leaving behind a purple sky filled with moving lights from ships. Inside a small, cracked house at the edge of the lower market, Vera sat near the small table, staring at the floor where she had hidden the strange blue cube. Her sons were sleeping close together, covered with a thin blanket. The youngest, Tiro, kept turning in his sleep, whispering words that made no sense. Light. Voice. Calling. He murmured again and again. Vera's heart was heavy. She knew the object was dangerous. Every story she'd heard about humans ended in destruction. The old archive said they were strong, wild, and impossible to control. If someone found a human relic in their home, they could all be taken away, arrested or worse. She thought about throwing the cube into the river, but something inside stopped her. A strange warmth lingered in her hand from when she had touched it. It didn't feel evil. It felt alive. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the room. The cube, hidden under the floor, started to glow through the cracks. The light spread like water, climbing the walls, turning the dull room into a sea of blue. Vera gasped and uncovered it. The cube floated into the air by itself, spinning slowly. A voice came, not loud, but clear and deep. Signal detected. Awaiting command. Vera stumbled back, shaking. Who are you? She whispered. No answer came, only the soft pulsing of the cube. The light dimmed, then faded out completely, falling back into her hands. The house was silent again. She sat down, breathing hard. This was beyond anything she could understand. Whatever the human had given them, it wasn't just an object. It was a message. Maybe a key. When the morning came, the city was louder than usual. Rumors ran through the markets like wildfire. The guards had closed several docking bays. They were searching for a man, an off-worlder who arrived without a registered ID. Kyle, Rin, and Tiro heard the whispers as they walked to the port to look for work again. Did you hear? A human was seen near the central plaza. No, not possible. Humans are extinct. They say he spoke the old Terran tongue. The boys looked at each other, eyes wide. Rin muttered, "He was real. I knew it." Kale frowned. "Don't talk about him here. Someone could hear." They turned around quickly and went back home. But before they could enter, they saw 2 armored guards standing near their street, talking to a local vendor. Their metal suits reflected the sunlight, and their scanners buzzed as they moved from house to house. Vera met them at the door, pretending to smile. "Officers, can I help you?" One of the guards lifted his scanner, a red beam sweeping across her face. "We're searching for an unregistered off-worlder who landed yesterday. Tall, pale, blue eyes. Did you see anyone like that?" Vera shook her head. "No, sir. Only traders and workers." The guard narrowed his eyes. His scanner beeped again, flashing a faint blue color as it pointed toward her house. "Strange. The sensors are picking up energy traces. Unusual readings." Vera's hands tightened. "Maybe from my stove. It's old and unstable." The guard hesitated, then finally stepped back. "If you see anything strange, report it to us. The High Council doesn't want trouble." When they left, Kale ran to the door. "Mom, they almost found it." Vera locked the door and whispered sharply, "We can't stay here. Someone knows. That man didn't just come to give us a gift. He brought danger." Rin, trying to sound brave, said, "But maybe it's something important, Mom. Maybe it's good." She looked at him sadly. "Good things don't bring soldiers to your door." As the suns began to set again, they packed their few belongings. Vera wrapped the cube carefully in cloth and placed it in her bag. But as she lifted it, she noticed something new. The cube's glow had changed. It now pulsed faster, almost like it could sense fear or danger. That night they stayed in an abandoned storage shelter near the edge of the industrial zone. The air smelled of oil and metal. The boys tried to sleep, but the humming started again. Kale sat up. "Mom, It's doing it again. Vera opened the bag. The cube floated out once more and projected faint blue lines across the ceiling, forming shapes, circles, coordinates, and finally, a star map. A single planet blinked red among the stars. Location confirmed. Human presence detected. The voice came again, stronger this time. Then, for a brief moment, an image appeared. A man's face, the same one from yesterday. His calm blue eyes looked straight at them. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. "Help is coming, but you must be careful. They'll come for the light." Then the image vanished. The cube fell silent, its glow fading into nothing. Vera held it close, her hands shaking. Her sons looked at her, terrified and amazed at the same time. "What does it mean?" Tira whispered. She didn't answer. Outside, in the dark sky, something huge moved among the stars. Silent ships, hidden from sensors, began to change course, heading straight for Zadra. The gift was not just glowing. It was calling. Morning light crept into the broken windows of the shelter. The air was heavy and still. Vera hadn't slept at all. The image of the human's face, his calm eyes, his voice still echoed in her mind. "Help is coming," he had said. But from who? And why them? Kale sat near the door, watching the street through a crack. "It's quiet," he whispered. "Too quiet." Rin tried to act brave, but his hands shook. "Maybe the guards gave up," he said. Vera didn't answer. She knew silence in Zadra never meant safety. When things went quiet, it was because someone was planning something. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A loud hum filled the air. Kale peered outside and froze. 3 black hover vehicles stopped near their shelter. Armed guards stepped out, their armor shining silver, the mark of the city's high command painted on their shoulders. "Mom," Kale whispered. "They're here." Vira's heart pounded. She grabbed the bag holding the cube and hid it under the old floor panel. "Say nothing," she told her sons. "No matter what happens, do not speak." The door burst open. 2 guards marched in, followed by a tall officer with dark green scales on his skin. His eyes were cold, his voice sharp. "Vera of District 12? "Yes," she said, standing tall despite her fear. "We received reports of unregistered energy signals coming from this sector," the officer said. "You will let us search this property." Vera forced a smile. "This is only a shelter. We have nothing valuable here." The officer ignored her and motioned to his men. They began scanning every wall, every crack, every piece of furniture. The boys stood close to each other, silent. As one guard passed over the floor panel, his scanner flashed red. "Sir, energy trace detected." The officer turned sharply. "Lift it." Kyle clenched his fists, ready to move, but Vera shook her head slightly. She couldn't let her sons get hurt. The guard lifted the wooden plank. The cube lay there, glowing faintly blue, humming softly like before. The officer's eyes widened. "What is this?" Vera stepped forward quickly. "It's just a toy, an old relic. My sons found it in the trash." The officer snorted. "Do you take me for a fool? This is human technology, forbidden and dangerous." He reached for the cube. But before his hand could touch it, the cube lifted into the air on its own. A flash of light burst out, throwing everyone backward. The guards shouted as their scanners overloaded. Blue energy spread through the room, and in the center of it a figure appeared, holographic but clear as life. It was him. The human. His calm eyes looked straight at the officer. "Stand down," the image said. "These people are under human protection." The officer fell back in shock. "What trick is this? Humans are dead." The hologram's voice grew louder. "You should have left them alone." Then the cube exploded with a wave of light. The guards screamed, their armor systems shutting down. Sparks flew, and the hover vehicles outside short-circuited. Within seconds, everything went silent again. The hologram faded. The cube fell back into Vera's hands, cool and quiet. Kyle ran to her. "Mom, what was that?" "Was it real?" Vera nodded slowly. "Yes, he saved us." The officer and his men stumbled out, terrified. One of them shouted, "We must report this. A human signal, active in the city." As soon as they were gone, Vera closed the door and collapsed to her knees. "This is no longer safe," she whispered. "They will come back with more." Rin looked at the cube, glowing softly again. "Why us, Mom? Why did he give it to us?" Before Vera could answer, the cube began to hum once more. A small projection appeared above it. a map of the city with blinking red dots. The dots moved quickly toward their position. "They're coming again," Kyle said. But then another mark appeared, a blue one, approaching from the opposite direction faster than the rest. The cube spoke in its calm, mechanical voice, a human signal inbound. Estimated arrival, 5 minutes. The family stared at each other, speechless. Vera grabbed her son's hands. "We have to move now." They ran out the back door into the narrow alleys of Zadra, the cube glowing through her bag like a lantern. Behind them, alarms started blaring. Drones filled the sky. The sound of approaching engines grew louder and louder. And then, through the rising dust, a shadow appeared, tall, human, wearing the same black coat as before. Commander Isaac Hale. His voice carried over the chaos. "Vera, boys, come with me if you want to live." Kyle froze. "It's him!" Isaac raised his arm and a pulse shield surrounded them, deflecting incoming drone fire. "You shouldn't have touched the cube," he said with a small smile. "But maybe it's fate you did." The family followed him into the mist, the sounds of battle echoing behind them. That day, every sensor in the city recorded one impossible thing: a living human walking through Zadra. And for the first time in centuries, the legend of the Deathworlders was no longer just a story. The night air was cold and heavy with smoke. Isaac led Vera and her sons through the ruins at the city's edge, moving fast but silent. Every few seconds, his wrist device flickered with blue light, scanning for drones. The boys struggled to keep up, their hearts pounding from fear and exhaustion. When they finally stopped, they were deep in an abandoned factory district. Broken towers reached toward the red sky, and the smell of burnt metal filled the air. Isaac turned toward them. His calm eyes seemed almost gentle now. "You're safe here. For a while," he said quietly. Vera still held the glowing cube tightly. "Who are you?" she asked. "Why are you helping us?" "That thing, why did you give it to my sons?" Isaac looked at the cube for a long moment before answering. "Because your sons did something no one else in this city dared to do. They helped a stranger without asking for anything in return. That act of kindness activated the beacon." Kale frowned. "Beacon? What beacon?" Isaac walked toward a rusted wall and pressed a small silver patch on his sleeve. The air shimmered, revealing a hidden door. Inside was a small, dimly lit room filled with strange human technology, screens, weapons, and maps of the galaxy drawn in blue light. "This," Isaac said, "is what your people call a myth. The last signal station of the Terran Fleet." The boys stared around in awe. The machines were old, dusty but still alive with quiet energy. Rin touched one of the glowing panels. "It's human tech," he whispered. "Real human tech," Isaac nodded. "I came here searching for survivors, those who still believe humanity's light shouldn't die. The cube you carry was one of many left behind centuries ago. We call them heartstones. They wait for kindness. When compassion is shown, they awaken." Vera was speechless. "So it chose my sons?" "Yes," Isaac said softly. "And that means something powerful. The heartstones don't make mistakes." Tiro stepped closer, his small hands shaking. "But everyone says humans were destroyed. That your planets were dead." Isaac's expression darkened. "That's what they wanted you to believe." He touched a screen, and an image appeared. A fleet of massive ships, dark and silent among the stars. After the Great War, most humans went into deep space. We hid, we rebuilt. For 100 generations, we stayed quiet, watching, waiting. "Waiting for what?" Kale asked. "For a reason to return," Isaac said. "And now, because of that cube, they'll know where I am. They'll come." Vera took a step back, fear filling her voice. "If your fleet comes here, the Council will destroy us all. They'll think we helped you." Isaac shook his head. "The Council's power is built on fear. They've ruled by making every world believe humanity is gone. When they see human ships again, they'll panic, but they won't dare strike first. They know what Deathworlders are capable of." The boys exchanged glances. The word Deathworlder sent chills down their spines. Rin whispered, "Is it true what they say? That humans live on the deadliest planets? That they can breathe poison air and fight beasts 3 times their size?" Isaac smiled faintly. "Not all stories are lies. We come from harsh worlds. We learned to survive everything. That's what makes us dangerous and why the Council fears us." He walked over to Vera and looked her straight in the eyes. "But don't mistake strength for cruelty. We fight only when pushed." Suddenly the cube began to hum again. The blue glow brightened until it filled the room. A deep mechanical voice spoke. Signal transmission complete. Terran Fleet acknowledged. 8 to 12 hours, Vera's breath caught. 12 hours? They're coming here? Isaac nodded. Yes, but it also means every sensor in this system just detected us. The Council will send their forces too. Outside, thunder rolled, not from weather but from engines in the sky. Dozens of alien warships were already rising from the capital's ports, their lights cutting through the clouds. Kale looked at Isaac. What will you do now? The human turned toward the open doorway, his face lit by the glow of his wrist screen. Protect you, he said simply. You and your sons are the first to show the galaxy that humanity's heart still matters. That's worth fighting for. He handed Kale a small metal device. Keep this. If anything happens to me, follow the beacon it shows. It will lead you to the fleet. Vera's voice trembled. You can't fight them all. Isaac smiled softly. I won't have to. Then he pressed a button on his wrist and a holographic message appeared above the cube, his voice echoing through the room. To all human ships receiving this, coordinates confirmed. Begin descent. Protect the beacon at all costs. The message ended. The cube dimmed again. Outside, distant explosions rumbled across the horizon as the Council's army closed in. Isaac looked back at the frightened family. The night will be long, he said quietly. But when dawn comes, the galaxy will remember humanity again. He stepped into the darkness, coat fluttering behind him as the sound of engines grew louder. And for the first time in centuries, the forgotten world of Zadra waited for the return of the Death Worlders. The first explosion shattered the quiet night. A deep roar rolled through the sky, shaking the old factory walls. Dust fell from the ceiling as Vera pulled her sons close. The ground trembled again. Alien ships were landing nearby. Isaac stood near the entrance, scanning the horizon through a cracked window. His calm face was now serious, his jaw tight. They found us, he said quietly. The Council doesn't waste time. Blue searchlights swept across the ruins. Drones flew low, scanning every building. Soldiers in armored suits marched through the streets, weapons glowing red. Kyle's heart raced. What do we do now? Isaac turned to them, his voice firm but steady. We move, stay close, no noise. He tapped a small metal disc on his wrist and a faint blue shield surrounded them. It bent the light around their bodies, making them shimmer like ghosts. They won't see us for long, he said. But we must move before the shield fades. They slipped out through a broken side door and crept through the dark alleys. The city that once buzzed with life was now a maze of fear. Sirens echoed, and the sky glowed with red flashes from patrol ships. Tiro clutched his mother's hand tightly. Are they going to hurt us? He whispered. Vera squeezed his fingers gently. Not if we stay with him, she said, glancing at Isaac. They moved fast through the empty streets until they reached a wide bridge crossing the old canal. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Suddenly, a spotlight cut through the darkness. The shield flickered. Down, Isaac hissed. They dropped behind a pile of debris as a drone hovered overhead. Its sensors whirred, searching. Isaac reached into his coat and pulled out a small cube, smaller than the one Vera carried. He pressed it, and it released a silent burst of light. The drone froze midair, then fell to the ground, lifeless. Rin stared in awe. You just shut it down? Isaac gave a faint grin. Human tech. Still works, but the small victory didn't last. From across the bridge, alien soldiers appeared, their armor reflecting blue lights. There, one of them shouted. Isaac drew a weapon from his back, sleek and black, glowing with blue energy. Stay behind me, the soldiers opened fire. Red bolts of plasma cut through the air. Isaac moved fast, faster than any of them had ever seen. Each shot he fired was precise, silent, deadly. Within seconds, the bridge was filled with smoke and silence. Kyle stared at him wide-eyed. How can one man fight like that? Isaac looked at the fallen soldiers and said softly, Because humans were born on worlds that tried to kill us every day. We learned to fight to live, not to conquer. He motioned for them to keep moving. They entered the old subway tunnels beneath the city. The walls were covered in moss and the air was damp. The cube in Vera's bag pulsed faster, as if guiding them deeper underground. Finally, they reached an old control room. Isaac sealed the door and exhaled. We'll rest here for a moment. The boys collapsed on the floor, tired and frightened. Vera looked at Isaac. They'll keep coming, won't they? He nodded. Until the fleet arrives. Once they see human ships in orbit, they'll stop hunting you. But we have to survive until then. He walked to an old terminal and connected his wrist device. Blue light spread across the screen. Maps, codes, and data lines flickered alive. I'm sending a signal to the fleet. They're close, but then the screen flashed red. Signal intercepted. Enemy tracking location. Isaac swore under his breath. They found us again. Outside, a low rumble grew louder, the sound of engines closing in. Rin jumped up. We can't run forever. Isaac looked at him. No, we can't. That's why we'll end it here. He turned to Vera and her sons. You must go to the lower tunnels. There's a service exit that leads to the cliffs outside the city. When you reach open ground, activate this. He handed Vera a small beacon. It'll call a human dropship to your location. Kyle stepped forward. What about you? Isaac smiled faintly. I'll keep them busy. Someone has to make sure you reach the dawn. Vera's eyes filled with tears. You'll die if you stay. He shook his head. Death is just another kind of journey. But I won't die easily. He loaded his weapon, his movements smooth and practiced. Now go, and whatever happens, don't look back. Vera pulled her sons toward the tunnel, but as she turned, she looked once more at the man who had changed everything. Isaac stood tall in the dim light, coat fluttering in the wind from the cracked vents above. His blue eyes glowed faintly, calm, strong, unafraid. Then the door shook as soldiers pounded from the other side. Isaac looked at the family and gave a final nod. Run, as they disappeared into the darkness. The last thing they heard was the thunder of battle, one human standing alone against an army. And somewhere far above, unseen through the clouds, thousands of ships began to move toward Zadra, answering the call of the beacon. The sky above Zadra turned red as fire spread through the clouds. Explosions echoed in the distance, lighting up the ruined city like a storm of falling stars. Vera and her sons ran through the lower tunnels, their footsteps echoing in the dark. The sound of battle from above grew louder with every passing second. Kale carried the small beacon Isaac had given them, its light blinking faintly blue. Mom, he said between breaths, what if he doesn't make it? Vera didn't answer. Her heart ached, but she refused to believe Isaac was gone. The man who walked through fire to protect them couldn't fall so easily. They climbed up a broken shaft that led to the surface. When they emerged, the night sky was gone, replaced by blinding light and the sound of roaring engines. Hundreds of alien warships filled the air, forming a blockade over the city. The fleet of the Galactic Council had arrived in full force. Rin gasped. There are so many of them. Before Vera could reply, the beacon in Kale's hand began to pulse faster. A deep hum filled the air, low and powerful, coming from above the clouds. Then the world changed. The stars vanished as a shadow spread across the heavens. It wasn't a storm or smoke, it was metal. Dozens of massive ships descended from orbit, each one shaped like a silver blade cutting through the atmosphere. They moved in perfect silence, forming a wall between the Council's fleet and the planet below. Tiro's mouth fell open. Are those human ships? Vera could barely speak. The ships were unlike anything she had seen before. They were enormous, glowing with blue energy, their sides marked with a single symbol, the old insignia of the Terran Fleet. A voice boomed from the sky, deep and calm, echoing across the world. This is the Terran Fleet Command. Stand down. Humanity has returned. The alien warships froze in position. Some tried to retreat, but the humans had already surrounded them. Kale held his breath. He did it, he whispered. Isaac called them. Vera looked to the horizon and her eyes widened. From the burning skyline, a black transport ship rose into the air. On its wing, a familiar figure stood, coat fluttering in the wind. Isaac. He was alive. The transport hovered just above the city ruins. Isaac's voice came through the beacon in Kale's hand. You made it out, he said. Good, keep that beacon close. It's linked to me. Where are you? Vera shouted, though she knew he could hear her through the signal. Above you, he replied, but not for long. The Council isn't giving up yet. As if on cue, several alien destroyers broke formation and dived toward the human ships, firing streams of red plasma. The sky exploded with light as the first battle between humans and aliens in centuries began. Human ships responded instantly. Beams of blue energy sliced through the air, moving faster than sound. One alien ship after another burst apart in brilliant white light. But even as the sky burned, Vera noticed something different. Human ships didn't fire on the city. They were protecting it. Mom, Rin said quietly. They're only aiming at the Council ships. Vera nodded. They're not conquerors, she said softly. They're rescuers. A nearby explosion shook the ground, knocking them down. The beacon flew from Cale's hand, rolling toward the edge of the cliff. Before he could grab it, it stopped on its own and projected a small hologram. Isaac's face appeared, calm but urgent. Stay where you are, he said. Extraction is coming. Tiro's eyes filled with tears. He's really coming for us? Before anyone could answer, a bright blue light shone above them. A sleek shuttle dropped through the smoke, slowing as it neared the ground. The hatch opened and 2 armored humans stepped out, their armor shining silver and white. Commander Hale sent us, one shouted. Get them aboard! Vera hesitated only for a second, then pulled her sons toward the shuttle. Inside, the air was cool and filled with soft light. The humans spoke in calm voices, their movements efficient and precise. As the hatch closed, the shuttle rose into the air. Through the window, Vera saw the full scale of the battle. Thousands of ships locked in combat, flashes of light stretching across the sky. It was terrifying and beautiful all at once. Cale pressed his face to the glass. They're winning, he said in awe. A voice came through the speakers. It was Isaac again. The council is retreating. Zadra is safe. Vera closed her eyes in relief. Thank you, she whispered. There was a pause. Then Isaac said softly, Don't thank me yet. The war that ended centuries ago has just begun again. But this time we fight for peace. The shuttle broke through the last layer of clouds. And for the first time, Vera and her son saw the Terran Fleet up close. Thousands of ships, glowing blue against the stars, standing like guardians of a forgotten home. Tiro pointed out the window, smiling. Look, they're making a path for us, and they were. The great ships moved aside, forming a corridor of light, guiding their small shuttle forward toward the largest vessel of all, the flagship Horizon's Edge, where Isaac waited. For the first time in her life, Vera felt something she had never dared to feel before. Hope. The shuttle floated smoothly through the star-filled sky, leaving the smoke and chaos of Zadra far behind. Through the small window, the stars looked brighter than Vera had ever seen. Her sons sat beside her, their faces pressed to the glass, eyes wide with wonder. They had never left their planet before, never imagined a sight so vast, so silent, so peaceful. Is this space? Tiro whispered softly, his small voice trembling with awe. Vera smiled, brushing his hair back. Yes, my love. It's space. The place where your ancestors once dreamed to live. Cale pointed ahead. Look, those ships. They're waiting for us. Before them, the Terran Fleet stretched across the darkness like a sea of light. Thousands of human ships floated in perfect formation, silver and blue, their hulls reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. The sight was breathtaking, powerful, calm, and disciplined. The shuttle slowed as it approached a colossal ship, the flagship Horizon's Edge. It was so massive that it made the alien cruisers from earlier look like toys. Every window on its surface shimmered with light, and across its side a single word was engraved in bold letters: humanity. As the shuttle docked, Vera felt her heart beating fast. The hatch opened and a rush of clean, cool air filled the cabin. Human soldiers stood waiting, dressed in white armor with blue visors. They saluted as she and her son stepped out, their movements precise and full of respect. Welcome aboard the Horizon's Edge, one of them said. Commander Hale is expecting you. Vera followed them through shining corridors lined with steel and glass. Everything was clean, glowing softly with blue lights. She felt small walking among these humans who moved with confidence and purpose. Every step echoed in the silence of the great ship. Finally, they entered a large observation room with a curved window that showed the planet Zadra below, half covered in cloud, still glowing with the fires of battle. And there, standing near the window, was Isaac Hale. He turned as they entered, a small smile touching his face. His black coat was torn, his left arm bandaged, but his eyes still shone bright. You made it, he said softly. Cale ran forward. We thought you died. Isaac knelt down, resting a hand on Cale's shoulder. It'll take more than the council to kill a human, he said with a grin. Vera stepped closer, emotion heavy in her chest. You saved my children, she whispered. You saved us all? Isaac shook his head. No, you saved yourselves. The cube chose your family for a reason. It sensed what this galaxy forgot: kindness. He gestured toward the window. Outside, human ships were landing on Zadra's surface, not with weapons, but with aid. Cargo ships dropped supplies, food, and medicine. Drones built shelters and repaired power lines. The same people that aliens had called Deathworlders were now healing a broken world. Rin watched in amazement. "They're helping the aliens?" Isaac nodded. "That's what humanity does. We fight hard, yes, but we rebuild harder. Where others bring fear, we bring hope." Vera looked out the window, tears filling her eyes. For generations, they told us humans were monsters. But now... She shook her head slowly. "You're the only ones who treated us like people." Isaac smiled faintly. "Humans have made mistakes too. But we learned that the only way to survive in a cruel universe is to care for those who can't fight for themselves. That's what makes us Deathworlders, not our strength, but our heart." Tiro tugged at Isaac's coat. "Will you stay on our planet?" Isaac looked down, his expression soft. "Not yet. The fleet has many more worlds to reach, many still under the Council's control. But I'll leave something behind." He reached into his pocket and handed Vera the glowing cube. Its light was calm now, warm like a heartbeat. "This is yours," he said. "Keep it safe. It will remind everyone on Zadra that kindness can change the galaxy." Vera took it with trembling hands. "We'll never forget you." Isaac turned back to the window, watching as his fleet organized above the clouds. "One day," he said, "humans and aliens will share the same sky without fear. That's the dream worth fighting for." The boys stood beside him, their eyes full of admiration. "Can we see your world someday?" Kale asked. Isaac smiled. "Yes. Someday, when peace finally returns, I'll show you where humans began and where we're going next." The room grew silent. Outside, the Terran Fleet slowly began to move, its ships turning toward the stars. The war below faded as alien ships retreated, leaving Zadra free. Vera looked down at the cube, its glow reflecting in her eyes. In that small light, she saw more than technology. She saw the future, a world where strength came from compassion, not cruelty. She turned to her sons and whispered, "Remember this day. The day we learned what it truly means to be human." As the horizon's edge rose higher into the endless night, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before. The legend of the Deathworlders was no longer a story told in fear. Now it was a promise. Humanity had returned not to conquer, but to protect